I came to the United States when I was 4 years old. I didn't know a word of English, and I really wanted to fit in, at school. I learned how to speak English in 1 year because I really wanted to be like the other kids, and I was rewarded with things like, "You're cool, you're not like the other spics." I feel like I have some kind of power when I can go out and use my artistic talent to change something which I know is a half-truth or an insincere comparison. And it just bothers me that it's so rampant and just so accepted. And I feel that a lot of the times it's blatantly targeted at minorities. And I don't like it when I see that in my community. So I go out and I try to take it back. But I try to take it back in a way where it's not, just a blatant, sense of anger. I really want to do it in a way where it's constructive, where people actually can, see the image and say, oh, wow, someone actually took time to make a statement with something that was just really more negative to begin with. So I really find that it's important to me to, do these kind of things and break down that barrier. I mean, I really consider that as much of a piece of my art as I consider a painting. I really feel that eventually more of that kind of work will be accepted and actually become part of the status quo. I was one of the founding members of ArtFox, and I really had a lot of fun with that group. I was into coming up with ideas that we would then implement as political art in the streets. That was the beginning of my direction as an artist for the street theater, street art things. One of the first was the sculpture I made of Jesse Helms, which we destroyed on the Capitol steps in a rally for the arts, and it progressed into a lot of other interesting things like blocking off Wall Street. I remember when we were a diner and I came up with that one, and just a lot of ideas. I always had fun coming up with interesting ways of making the point, and then everybody was psyched and we would all do it. Ron English then was a person who was doing billboards in Texas, and then we heard about him, we met up with him, and he was really interesting, and he showed us how to do some billboards here. They were mostly fun kind of, things, but he, met with us, and we wanted to do some harder stuff, and he agreed, and we went out and did some things together.
Well, we're getting ready to go into Manhattan, and we're going to do, for the first time, a guerrilla action which involves putting advertisements that ArtFox in English has created, and we will be covering billboards which are currently filled with ads that promote tobacco and alcohol. And the ads we're placing are public service ads, which are designed to help educate the people and make the people kind of laugh.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Dealing with certain things, we don't have the money to put real public service messages out there. So we have to do it underground, and we have to kind of rip off the space and kind of be like bootleggers.
We rip off the spaces that are not really good anyway, like
right.
Smoke ads and liquor ads.
We did do 2 posters on the comics. One is food, foam, and fun. Then we have another McDonald's ad, which Ronald McDonald has turned into a chimp, and he's like a monkey, and it says, that's on Second and Second, and it says, McDonald's, better living from chemistry, McDonald's. Camel. Camel's a serious one, even though we made fun of a very phallocentric ad. But I'm personally very offended and appalled at Camel, because Camel is selling cigarettes to my daughter. I got a 5-year-old. Today I'm standing by the ad and a little boy walks by. He said, "Daddy, look, somebody's gonna shoot the camel." "I like the camel," the little boy said, and I was like, and I stopped. I was like, wait a minute. You know, and I wanted to talk to the little boy. I was like, how could you like this camel? You know,
it's a cartoon. They're
Exactly.
selling it to the younger generation.
You know, we put up one about AIDS on a funeral parlor that had they had beer ad up, and we said no alcohol. We put up one up that said AIDS, it's not just for gays anymore. But the people at the funeral parlor were very offended. They came out and said, that doesn't belong on a funeral parlor.
The sign is right, but not on the side of a funeral.
Yeah, but not inside of a funeral home.
Why? It's bad taste.
Hey, man, a new crew's got to come up here.
No, fuck that shit, fellas. That sign gotta come off. No, I want it off now.
It was scary on the first one, believe me. And I'm scared of heights, you know, and I was like so psyched up that I just ran up there and I looked down, and you're 4 floors down, you know, 4 floors up, and I'm looking down. I said, oh my God, I forgot I'm scared of heights, you know? But you just do it. You gotta do what you do, you know?
It was put out there for them, and that's the reason.
Well, if some guy in this neighborhood is smart, he'll take this and take it home.
Yeah, but we didn't make the rules. We have no intention of living by them.
They're planning to call the cops on you guys. What are you guys gonna do?
Leave.
Huh?
It's a pretty obvious idea, you know? I mean, it's just everywhere, and you're thinking, oh, I can't get in a gallery. Oh, nobody sees my art. Oh, and it's like, man, just stick one up there. Then everybody sees it, you know?
Everything that happened with Art Folks was wonderful, and I don't regret any of it. You know, it was time to move on. There were some people who were thinking a different direction than I, and also John and Mirta, and we just decided it was time to move on and just sort of stay with the focus. And we formed Cicada.
My initial idea. That's why it's good to have you people around.
We
Probably
could
would have been cheesy.
yeah,
Yeah, right?
for the rest of the series, maybe we can get together, do them all with the brass. Change the brass strips. We might be able to cut the brass strips out into shapes. That's basically it. Something to secure me. I'm really not fearful of falling. There's enough of a ledge space.
Look, what you do is you put this through here like this.
I really enjoy the concept of putting something that doesn't belong, but it's still having a look as if it does belong. So people are going to look at this sign and probably not really think about it until a little bit later and say, wait a second, you know, what was that? And I think as an artistic statement, you know, just the fact that I can control the world around me gives me a thrill. I really do enjoy it. I think that it's important that across the board, everybody has the same ability to put out information. And I think that faxes and modems and everything else will make that available. And the fact that, you know, programs are becoming cheaper and cheaper, and people are getting their personal computers and putting out, you know, zines and newsletters and everything else. So it's good. You know, I don't think Orwell saw the fact that, you know, everybody was going to have the ability to do these things. So I just think that since we all do have the ability, we should take advantage of it. When the explosion at the Trade Center happened, a number of the members of the group started noticing the Arab bashing. You know, how we were being brainwashed to just hate all Arabs. You know, Arabs are now bad in the United States. Look what the Arabs are doing in the United States. And, you know, stereotyping over and over, day after day, not letting the story go down. And there was never one editorial stating, we can't get out of control, and you got to understand this is a small number, a small group of Arabs. This has nothing to do with the whole Arab community. The feedback that the group got when we made a poster entitled "Divided We Fall," which stated that, you know, what happened there is isolated. I mean, do we hate all Christians after this guy in Waco went crazy? I mean, let's put this whole thing in perspective. And we put these posters out, and we're continuing to put them out. And I think if more people do this, if more people counteract the negative things that are happening right now in our media and in so many other things like, you know, advertising and so on, we can start to make a change. And I think that more people, I mean, the fact that there were no Arabs in our group and we went out and made the statement, you know, just people were very happy to see it. And I think that more of that should happen. I'm amazed at the ability of a baby's face to be able to, you know, present so many different feelings, emotions, problems, happiness, you know, all those things. And I just think that a baby is just a perfect metaphor for hope, the new age, future generations, that kind of thing. So I've been working on a series in my paintings and sculptures on that also, and this was just another direction in that series, but this was for everyone. This wasn't for the gallery shows, and it wasn't for, you know, anybody who come over my studio and, you know, whatever. It was really just to put out art for free, just say like, here, you know, here's my message, you know, that kind of thing. To make the baby signs, I had to first, you know, acquire the metal. The metal, of course, has an oil on it to keep it so it doesn't rust because it wasn't stainless steel. And I had to degrease them. And they're fairly heavy, so when you're talking 400 sheets of steel, you're talking a number of, you know, hundreds of pounds. Then I had to get a sprayer to paint the things with polyurethane paint to make sure that it would last out in the elements. And then I had to make a halftone of the painting, and I had to design how I was going to have the little red outline to make it look, you know, very professional, as if, you know, it was just a regular no parking sign, only with a different image on the inside. I then had to get someone to make the screens for me. The screens were made, and I started screening. And then it's 2 colors, so you do one screening of a set and then a screening of the red. So every sign is a lot of hours per sign. And it all stems from working in the signage industry and getting the whole thing in the Madison Avenue way of imagery. Yeah, that looks good. Using the technology of the day to be able to put in text where you usually wouldn't see it, and be able to do it in a way where it's subtle, almost subliminal, and still powerful. For instance, the stop signs, where I can die-cut vinyl in the same font as the word stop, and match it to the background color so you don't see it during the day. But then at night, when a light hits it, the rest of the sign is reflective, my letters aren't. And then you could read a statement like stop AIDS, or stop hate, stop racism, and so on. And being able to just put up images, you know, all over in society, and have them be positive, as opposed to all these images all over society being negative. So I'm actually trying to play with the same Madison Avenue outlook of clean and you know, and presentable in the way that I do these things, so they're not just dismissed as somebody doing graffiti or something. These are thought out, and they're, you know, for a reason. I'm concerned with disproportionate advertising. I'm concerned with almost a kind of genocide that seems to be happening. I'm concerned with poorer neighborhoods being saturated with negative imagery, while, you know, rich neighborhoods probably have one, you know, buckle your seatbelt ad. You know, that's not fair. And I think that the money is being made at the expense of people who really can't fend for themselves, because they really are in a bad situation, you know. And I think people that can really put out the money and you know, get all the backing that they need to get something changed, have that done. You know, other people really have to worry too much about paying their rent to get rid of these things. What we wanted to do was, we wanted to sort of change these images, which are mostly in poor areas. If you go to an area like an affluent area like Madison or Summit or any other, you know, richer towns in New Jersey, you are not going to find the amount of billboards that are pushing legal poisons in the amount that you find in Jersey City or Newark. And I think that that's a major problem. If you go up to Union City, where, I mean, a lot of my relatives are, there's, you know, cerveza ads everywhere, and a lot of the beer that they're you know, selling is fortified with cheap alcohol. And I think that there's a major problem in the United States with how products are pushed. I also see a major problem in some of the large companies using Latino and Black communities as test communities, where they'll actually go out and bombard these communities with a new product. One of the test cases was with Cobra, which was a fortified beer put out by Anheuser-Busch. And I mean, it's a major problem that I think needs to be dealt with, and we try our best as artists to do something about it. and be very visual about it. It's unfair in a way because you can't turn these things off. They're always in your face. So, you know, kids grow up thinking that it's great because, you know, look at the stars that are pushing the stuff on me. It must be good, you know. So they, you know, you come away with a lot of false, you know, ideology of the product. You can go and you know, try to put a moratorium on more billboards and then try to, you know, work on from there to get rid of a lot of them. It's a long process, especially, you know, in cities where there are so many billboards that even if there was a moratorium, there's still hundreds and hundreds of ads in your face. But that's one way. There are, I know of here in New Jersey, the Latino Council on Alcohol and Tobacco is a group that's very active, you know, in combating negative imagery. I would just hope that more groups and more people would come out and do different things, and maybe use us as a template or a guide as to what you can do to counteract these things. And I have a problem. We were also talking about words and how phrases are used now, and I think that some of the things that begin to bother me as an artist doing these kind of things is stuff like guerrilla art or, you know, activist art. And I think that it was mentioned best at one of our Cicada meetings that it be called citizen art. You know, it's not something that should be, you know, made as something that's subversive or shouldn't be done. It's something that should be done by all of us. It's something that is good for society as a whole, and it shouldn't be frowned upon. And I think that citizen art is probably one of the best ways to counteract this coinage of phrases that, you know, makes us seem like we're doing something wrong. Umberto Eco wrote how in Europe a lot of the intellectuals find it their duty to write essays on what the government and corporations are doing in that nation. Here we look at a fine writer and thinker like Noam Chomsky, and we frown at the fact that he's so vocal and so out there. So I feel that there are major problems in how we are trained as citizens and how we're supposed to take these things and just live with them. And I think if more of us go out and take charge of some of the problems, we're going to get somewhere with it. Thank you. Well, I really feel that right now there's a stagnation in the art world because of the fact that it's such a structured system. You have to go through the motions. Your success is measured in how you can chase down, you know, all the necessary, you know, components to make your career go. And I think that right now there's going to just be a revolution because you're going to have a lot of artists. I mean, there's millions of artists now. Our art is trained, you know, through academia as opposed to, you know, in the past where it was through apprenticeship. And, you know, there's artists everywhere. And not all these artists are going to be as successful, you know, as, you know, some of the artists in the past. And I'm hoping that a lot of artists are going to start doing what I'm doing. And that basically is making art for a different reason, making it, you know, to go beyond the sale, you know, taking time to make art and just letting it go. Now that the posters are here, we got to put them up. Now, that's going to, there's two ways. The way John suggested, which is really great and fast and allows people to take them, is one way. Maybe we should all get together and start doing that, you know, and just pick main streets and go all the way down 6. Right now I want to continue this idea of making art for the importance of a statement as opposed to the importance of the object. And not that it, you know, there's any, you know, literal dogma involved, but more of the fact that, you know, it's being done for a reason beyond the need for its sale. So right now I'm working on a large project where I'm going to be working with very large boxes, and it's going to be both visual in the fact that they're heavy metal cubes, but also there's going to be a large amount of interaction because the cubes will be speaking to the people in the area, because they're going to be dropped off when no one is expecting them, right in the middle of a road, and there'll be no way to shut them off. So the idea is really to just invade a space and invade it with artwork and invade it with something that's going to be more interesting than what's out there now. And my whole thing is just to make the piece and make it a powerful piece, and then that's it. Its life is over, and just continue on. The group is wonderful. The group is actually coming together better than I thought. The fact that together we do things like curate or make posters on issues and just work on joint projects is incredibly nice. I mean, I feel that collaboration is an important aspect of that this change in the structure, and it doesn't necessarily have to deal with your own personal direction as an artist, but it's definitely something that broadens your horizons and makes you feel good about what you do.
Jury, how do you find the defendant? Fellas, prepare the defendant! Executioner, carry out the sentence! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Yes! Do it again!
In Artfox, I had some pretty dynamic people that were willing to work very hard to get things done, and it continued on in Cicada. And it's one of the things that I enjoy about coming up with something that most people just wouldn't take the time to do or the money to do, and do it because it's something that's strong, hard-hitting, means something, and hopefully somebody will walk away saying, hey, people are thinking in the world around me. So I find that what influences me to keep going is the fact that you see people doing it besides you, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to sort of one day walk out of my house and see all these interesting ways that people are putting out information and ideas.